We're here on the Will and Willie Show, live from the Orchard Hotel in San Francisco, and our guest is Carla Marinucci. I want to invite the audience up to this microphone, ask a question or two. Be brave. Come up and have your voice. It's your moment to ask a question directly. And we also want to thank our sponsors, Cage Chain Advisors, Tahoe Blue Vodka, Corridor Restaurant. Let's hear it for them. And also for R&B Cellars, who provided the wine. And what a beautiful room this is, too. I mean, this is our second time in this room. And now the season is different, and it's darker outside. So the first show we did here, it was like, if there were vampires on stage, you would have known, because it would have been...
But it's such a beautiful, even with the darkening western sky, it's still beautiful from the street and Bush Street and the traffic and the fumes and the ugliness.
Yeah, San Francisco's really been getting pounded in the national media lately.
And yet all the movies keep using us as a backdrop.
Yeah, that is true.
And I saw Mayor Breed this morning on I don't know, one of the channels, Channel 2 maybe, and they were asking her questions about the streets of San Francisco. And, you know, she was defending San Francisco. And all I could think about was, I'm sorry, that is me being asked. I said, hey, wait a minute. You only elected me 2 months ago. Whoever those streets are, that was Farrell's problem.
My problem.
I didn't make them that dirty this quickly. Look, we have someone to ask a question.
Yes.
Your name and where
Hi,
you're from?
My name is Will, and I'm from the Sunset District. And I have a question for Mr. Willie Brown. Where'd you get that jacket? That is a gorgeous. What is that, plum?
Isn't that a beautiful jacket?
Is that plum?
It is
It's
plum.
lovely.
Yeah.
It's a lovely jacket.
Yeah. It's plum and you know, it's kind of crushed grape and what have you.
And is that a lobster in your lip balm?
Yes. Yeah.
Or are
it
you
is
just
a
excited to see me?
And yeah, I think this may be the first time I've worn this jacket.
Yeah.
It's fabulous.
It's gorgeous.
As always.
I think it is the first time.
Yeah.
I've been praying for the weather to get a little colder, so I couldn't wear it.
Very
And then
nice,
I knew
very
I would be
nice.
someplace tonight where I'd be hanging out, and I got to go to Oakland because it's my wife's birthday.
Oh.
Oh, well.
She lives over in Oakland, and I'm going to surprise her, or I may get a surprise.
Or she's on Facebook Live. You're not going to surprise her at all.
She's not watching.
We have another question. You are, and I know.
I'm Joseph with Cage Chain, and my question is related to technology in the California political landscape. Do you have any opinion on how technology is going to affect the California political landscape?
Well, I mean, Silicon Valley has a huge imprint on what's happening, and you know, boy, a lot of the companies down there have been in the news, and not for good reasons lately. Facebook, Google, and otherwise. But the fact is, when it comes to jobs, when it comes to education, those folks are going to have a big impact on the next governor of California and a lot of the people in elected office. You know, I mean, and their money is really, really important. Is it not, Mayor Brown?
You know what I'm amazed at? It's clear that all that technological development, all these devices that we all buy, and then you read in the newspaper about how wealthy these people are becoming as a result. They got to be overcharging. You know, and that's not natural. Why would I pay $1,200 for this goddamn phone?
Beats the heck out of me. I'm still using a 7.
And when I was in Hong Kong the other day, you could get them on the streets for $3.
Keep holding it up, and someone will get it on the streets here for maybe about the same thing.
But the tech leaders are important. By the way, Jeff Bezos lost $9 billion today in the stock market. So y'all think you had a bad day? I mean, you know, right?
He would not have any way of knowing it. Period. He had so much money. That is such a clever guy, and he's in the world of technology. But he's really in the world of retail.
That's right.
Because he literally has taken over all these
changing the way
storefronts,
we
you
all
see.
live. That's right.
Literally. I saw a great-looking pair of white cowboy boots
Wow.
Tony, yeah, I'm telling you.
Not what I expected.
Calvin Klein had made these cowboy boots. I saw them on Sunday at Neiman's, and I kept trying to figure out how can I get these cowboy boots? And then I looked and I noticed Neiman's has a triple rewards starting today. So I went in, said, hey, I'd be interested in those boots. Let me try them on. I tried them on, and they were like $1,000, and I had enough of those things for $1,000 with the triple, but only on Wednesday. So I said, put my name on those and hold them for me, please, and I'll be in on Wednesday. So on the way here, I went by there, and they have no longer carry Calvin Klein. They moved Calvin Klein shoes out of Neiman's. I said, why did you do that? They said, you see all these tennis shoes? I said, yeah, that's what the people who spend money are buying. Now I got to call Jeff Buzo and see if he can tell me where the boots went. Because I really want those white cowboy boots.
Wow.
Spray paint a pair of black ones. We have another question. Leslie Katz,
Leslie.
one of our celebrities
see
in the
you,
audience.
Leslie.
How are you?
And a appointee of mine
Yes, I
to
was
the
gonna say,
San Francisco
yes,
Board of
yes.
Supervisors 130 years ago.
Only 124,
Don't exaggerate.
and still a fan. And I'll out you, so to speak. I'll never forget you looking at the backdrop of the stage one time and deciding what you were going to wear before you spoke to a crowd of 40,000 the next day. Perfectly color coordinated, just like your beautiful jacket matches the backdrop tonight. I was wondering what you all think about the impact or what's going to happen with the potential for all the meddling that's going to be taking place in the elections. It seems like there's been a utter failure to really crack down on the potential to not only manipulate social media, but also even, we're finding more and more out about the voting machines. The same ones that were hacked in 2004 are still being used today. And what, if anything, is going to be done to really track that, and what impact might that have on our elections?
Leslie, I remember talking with you the day after the election about this very topic, whether the voting machines were hacked. Look, California's got a problem in its DMV, the motor voter program. It's been the headlines this week have been a bunch of people registered who weren't supposed to be registered. Republicans are going to use that. That's the kind of criticism. But the fact is, yes, Republicans have not wanted to spend money on issues to look into this or to guard against it. And I think this is where the issue is going to be, that and voter suppression issues. We're looking at Georgia today. The headline was that the Secretary of State there is blocking, I think it's something like 65,000 people, most of them African American, from voting, and that's something that could actually help his campaign for governor. Right. So when you talk about voting and accurate voting and voter suppression, these are all major issues, and you're absolutely right. They're not being addressed, and they're really not being covered because we're too busy looking at the shiny object of the president's last tweets and other things. And I think that's a really important issue.
Yeah. I even just saw, I guess there were some hackers that it took them less than 2 minutes to hack a couple of the voting machines, not the ones in California, but it was stunning how quickly they could manipulate those, and nothing seems to be done.
No, and I think we're looking at a potentially serious issue, and we're seeing that the Russians, by the way, haven't just meddled here now. There are a growing list of countries that we're finding out that they also had a hand in.
Yeah, they tried meddling in British politics, but even they couldn't figure out British politics.
The only thing that I think President Trump fears is whether or not the current investigation by Robert Mueller will ultimately land him in everybody's eyesight as being conscious of, aware of, if not participating in the hacking that affected the election process last time around. He fears that more than anything else. Not even the Republican judiciary can cover that up. And that's why he has been focused on trying to get rid of Mueller. He figures that that's the one guy that is holding on to something that might nail him.
Didn't Mueller just get the longest sentence yet against one of the people?
Was that today? I didn't find out
believe
what
it was
happened.
today, yes.
Yeah, what exactly?
Yeah, I don't know.
I can't remember.
I'm
what-
just
reported on
hoping that he
Wednesday.
gets to present his case, that Mueller's all that investigation, all those records and research. I just hope we get to see it someday.
Yeah, and the question is, I mean, are average voters going to care? And that is the issue. When you talk, I've been out there talking to a lot of voters, and that's not the top of the mind.
You know, Willie is totally right about the 35%. After Joseph McCarthy was censored by the Senate, he still had a 35% approval rating. So that's 35% of people you're never going to get. It doesn't matter what you use: logic, reason, math, science, physics, history, decency, gravity. Doesn't matter what you try to use.
I pulled this up because there's a reason I have the computer here. So Mueller got the longest sentence for a man who helped Russian trolls. Richard Pinedo, 28, received 6 months in prison and 6 months of home confinement after pleading guilty to felony identity fraud charges. So I think there's actually something there, perhaps, if someone's going to plead guilty and take a 6 month
If he only got
sentence.
6 months, though, 6 months is nothing. Because you don't really do 6 months. You understand that when you're sentenced that way, you get time off for being good. You may even get some credit for time you've done some other place. So this guy's not spending any time. Nothing. Period. And that's not a sentence at all.
I'm
that
just
ought
reading
to
it.
encourage hackers. That ought to encourage hackers.
And from Politico.com.
If the exposure,
Yeah, it is a political.
if the exposure is only 6 months, make the price right, and I'm in.
We have time for another question. Please identify
That's a
yourself.
great quote. I gotta-
Step up to the
I gotta
microphone,
write
ask
that
your question. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Alex Volkov. I'm sorry for being Russian.
No apology necessary.
Meddling with the
Spasibo,
evening,
dasibadai.
but I have a different kind of a question. We've heard of your advice for the politicians to be in the news and be that shiny object, and definitely President is following your advice to the letter. But as far as the current politicians advancing on the Democrats' stage, who do you think is more following your advice out of them?
Who's looking the strongest?
I've got to tell you that in the governor's race, Gavin Newsom's managers have decided that he can only take away from his candidacy if he has to answer any questions about anything. So they don't want him to say anything. Period. They'd like for it to go away. That's why 10 o'clock in the morning, KQED, etc., they'd like for you never to see him again. Period. And because he's
4 weeks from yesterday.
as glamorous as you can get under the circle, and they want to keep it that way. I think that there are other candidates. Eric Garcetti would think he has died and gone to heaven if he could speak to this audience. And he's the mayor of L.A. Politicians are not stars in Southern California. They are in San Francisco, but in Southern California, it's Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga that are the stars, not Eric Garcetti and
Anthony Villaraigosa.
any of the other. Nobody down there gets any attention except probably Maxine Waters, and she gets it because Trump is constantly on her case for whatever purpose. And so it's really difficult to say generally what would be applicable to all candidacies. You got to be really careful, because I ran probably 80 or 90 campaigns every year, every election cycle, because I had to get my people elected and reelected. And in that process, there were some of my candidates that I sent away. They were so bad. I couldn't trust them. Literally.
We wouldn't
you
ask
name
those
names?
names.
I would hide them out. There was even one candidacy that I participated in that I would not let a photograph of the candidate ever be seen. And it was because he had the right kind of last name, but he was black in a white district. And so there's no way I want those white people to see him. Knowing that their prejudice and their racism might be in what they visit.
What
He
did
won.
you do to candidates that you didn't want to win?
What?
What did you do to candidates that you didn't want to win?
I overexposed him.
Is that true? Did you?
Of course.
You just sent them out and sent them out and sent them out?
Of course.
And let them, dig their own grave?
Every place you could put a bad candidate to lose it, make sure they got there. Urge them to go there.
I gotta ask him something, which is, the old saying.
Last question of the night.
The old saying about every politician is they look in the mirror in the morning, and as they're shaving or whatever, and see the president of the United States. Did you do that?
No. No. Had I done that, I would have been a candidate. Let me tell you about my political career. I always loved being exactly what I was, period. I wanted to be the best speaker you ever had, ever.
And you were.
And forever.
The
And believe me,
Ayatollah.
other than term limits, I'd still be speaker. Then when...
It's your own damn fault.
What?
If you hadn't won the speakership when they had a Republican majority, you'd
won
still
that.
be speaker. I know.
I won that
But that's
too.
the reason.
I won it all the time.
That's
But then
the-
I became the mayor when they put in term limits. And I became the mayor. I'd still be mayor if they didn't have term limits in this
Why
South.
didn't you-
I never wanted to be anything other than what the voters had first given me. And I wanted to prove how right the voters were by being perfect in that operation. And I spent 16 to 18 to 20 hours a day trying to make sure you knew it. I was probably the most visible politician ever in this town. I went to everything. If there were two people standing, I made...
You still go to everything.
Still is. Yeah.
What are you running for?
Great question, Will.
What makes Willie run? And by the way, putting in a plug here, because November 6th is Election Day. State of California, you have till Monday, October 22nd to get your registration in by mail, and you can actually go to the polling place in your district and register right into Election Day. So if you're going to vote, you ought to vote. And so we want to urge you to vote no matter how you're voting. And I want to thank everybody for being a live audience here in the beautiful Orchard Hotel in San Francisco.
Beautiful. And
that is our premier sponsor. Also, thanks to Cage Chain Advisors, Tahoe Blue Vodka. I'll have one when we get off. Corridor Restaurant and R&B Cellars, and maybe I'll have Chaser for wine. And I didn't mention JC Professional Services. Also, I want to thank our crew. We had Nilo and Lester of Mysterious doing the AV and mixer here. Faye Blackmore, let's hear it for them. Pop-up stage was from Mike Dingle. And our associate producer standing right there, Leslie K. And consigliere, Stefano Casalotto is out there. He helped coordinate everything that we got to eat and the drinks that were special tonight. And let's hear it for Paul Wong and also David Wong, the proprietors and hosts of this beautiful restaurant and hotel, and also the Orchard Garden Hotel. And thank you very much.
With those tiny little hands.
Because a man